Hey, what's up? This is Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz. This is my weekly video blog called Bullheaded, a review of the Houston Texans news as well as a preview of the upcoming game matchups. So this week, the Texans are going to be going on the road to face the Chicago Bears, so the Bears can fight for whatever playoff hopes they have left, as opposed to the Texans who probably blew their playoff hopes away last week's loss. So before I get into all of that, what they need to do against Chicago, I just want to do a quick recap over the game from last week. So first things first, it was a loss, but one positive I want to bring out of this is the receivers, the wide receivers. How they perform. Chad Hansen and Kiki Kuti, both of them went over 100 yards, and and a lot of their plays that they made really kind of kept us in that game and just really kept us competitive. Even though overall the offense was just not great at all. The offense was particularly bad in the fourth quarter, but those two guys, they really stepped up in a week that we lost two wide receivers, whether it was, through, business moves or whether it was through PED suspensions and everything. So kudos to them. Second thing, could not have been a worse time for a bad snap. Texans, as bad as the offense played, particularly in the second half, they were able to manage. They were able to put a drive together and get to knocking on the door of the end zone against the Indianapolis Colts. And for whatever reason, Nick Barton just had a horrible, snap, and so we, obviously that got turned over or whatever, and so. For a snap to happen like that is not unusual. It's not nothing out of the ordinary. Bad snaps happen in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, obviously it'll either result in a turnover or lose a lot of yardage and everything. But for it to happen at that particular moment, when the Texans had a chance to punch it in and take the lead and all that stuff, couldn't have been a worse time for that to go down. So it is what it is. I was on the bandwagon of they should have done a lot better. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter that there was a bad snap, but. It is what it is, and sometimes plays like that just become way bigger than the game itself. So, speaking of bad snaps, Watson was sacked 5 times in this game. Really stood out to me, and I keep mentioning the fourth quarter, and he was just, I don't know what it was about that second half. Like it was 24-20. At halftime, like the score was right there for the Texans to just kind of, take the lead or get close to the lead, and they just couldn't get nothing done in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, overall, he was sacked 5 times in the game, but there was a possession where he fumbled the ball on the fourth quarter possession. He got sacked for a safety, also in the fourth quarter. So he didn't really have a good game as well. I'm pretty sure on the stat line to show he had like 341 yards, but he also threw a costly interception in the third. He didn't have any touchdowns thrown in this game, so it was just, oh my god, it was just overall bad game for him and for the offense as well. So the defense, they held it down when they had to. First half, they probably didn't play so great, obviously. But second half, they shut the Colts out completely. Especially there was one 4th and 1 play that they made a stop on, and I think that was the following possession from that was when Watson got taken down for a safety. So the defense, they really just tried to hold it down and provided a lot of opportunities for the offense to go in and take the lead, but offense just did not capitalize on that. So hopefully they'll do better on this game. So, with all that being said, I just want to go through a couple of quick news items before we get into the Chicago game. So, big news that I felt like it was huge news anyway. So Cal McNair, Texans owner Cal McNair, he's organized a search committee for the Texans' next general manager, and so it's probably nothing new. I think teams do this all the time, regardless of sports. What really kind of caught my eye, and I think should have caught a lot of people's eyes, was who was on this committee. So he had CEO of Spurs Sports and Entertainment, R.C. Buford, former NFL head coach Jimmy Johnson, and former NFL head coach Tony Dungy. Andre Johnson, y'all know who that is, and also former NFL GM Rod Graves. And so he put this group together. They're going to be involved in picking the next general manager for the Texans. And a couple of things that jumped off in my mind. I was like, first off, I've been trying to think about what to say about this whole topic like all week. Because I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing football wise, because you're getting the input of a lot of voices, particularly, and not just football wise. I think them bringing in Buford gets a great impact, gives great insight as well. And I'll get into Buford a little bit later, but I think it's great that you have all these different voices, because I think they're all coming from different levels of what they need. So you got Buford and Graves, they're former GMs. So obviously you need some GM input on who to pick. Johnson and Tony Dungy, former NFL head coaches, Super Bowl winners. Obviously you're going to need input from those guys as well. I guess it's like how a GM relates to the coach, and what his plans are, what his probably asking what his ideal coach, what the new GM's ideal coach is going to be, and also Andre Johnson. Like Andre has been pretty much the cornerstone of this franchise ever since he was drafted. He's been on both sides of the table. He's been a player, and he's also been, sort of like a coach / consultant. He's worked in that area as well. So, but he's been around this team for the longest time. So he can probably have input on whether or not this new GM is going to be a fit for the culture, whether his plans are going to fit the culture of this franchise. So I definitely think this is a real good team put together. What really stood out to me, as I probably mentioned a few seconds before, was Buford, because he's coming from a whole different world. He's been a general manager and all this stuff for another team, but he's coming from basketball. But I think it was great. I think he was a great pick, because he's not just coming from basketball. He's coming from the San Antonio Spurs, and over the last 20 years, that's been one of the more celebrated organizations. And I mentioned 20 years because they went to the playoffs 20 plus straight years. They have 5 championships out of the whole thing. So, he's been a part of that. He's won Executive of the Year for the NBA 2014 and 2016. So, he's not coming from the Sacramento Kings and he's just bored. He's actually coming from somewhere, that has a winning tradition. And that's big for me to say, because I'm a Rockets fan, and I know the Rockets Spurs beef probably ain't as deep as the Texans Cowboys beef or whatever, but it's still a beef there and whatever. So just regular sports beef, nothing major, but you got to give credit to where credit is due. He's coming from somewhere that has a winning culture, and right now the Texans are looking to implement a winning culture going forward with their new GM, with their new coach. So I think his insight is going to be very valuable on how that can get implemented with the new regime coming in. All right, so a couple of more news items I want to knock out real quick. David Johnson, he was placed on the COVID list, COVID reserve list. I think I seen a news item where he wasn't, where he mentioned that he wasn't going to be able to travel with the team. But they didn't initially. They didn't say it was like anything to do with COVID. I think they said it was like a personal issue or something. So now it's maybe he does have it, or maybe it's one of those contact tracing issues. So hopefully he gets healthy moving forward for the rest of the season. I know it's been a tough year for him. It's been a tough year for all of us, for all of the Texans or whatever. But as far as football, but personal wise, and it's on a personal tip, I just hope he's like, really gonna recover from this. If or not he has it, I just hope he's doing well, and as well as his family too. So, speedy recovery. Hope he gets back out on the field pretty soon. Last thing I want to touch on is the storyline of the Bears almost drafting Watson. So I don't know, since 2017, I would probably say since 2018, people have really been beating up on the Chicago Bears. And I say 2018 because that's when Watson really kind of came into his own with a fully healthy season. Also, they just been beating up on the Bears for missing out on him and Patrick Mahomes. So the story goes, I think the Bears took Trubisky at like number 2 overall or whatever, and Watson and Mahomes, they were like taken way down. I think 11. Well, I should know, but anyway, not important right now. So yeah, the thing I want to talk about is the storyline that they're going to be hammering out probably the whole game of that. The Bears should have drafted Deshaun Watson, and yeah, that's a no-brainer now. And that was probably a no-brainer. Trubisky's rookie season. That the Bears should have took Watson. The Bears should have took Mahomes or whatever. Probably not so much Mahomes because he didn't really start until that till his official second season. But they made their choice, and it is what it is. I'm just tired of hearing about that storyline because finally it'll come to a head, and people will be like, give it one last good hurrah, like, oh, the Bears should have drafted Watson, and it's like, okay, moving on. So, but that's what that's going to be, and it is what it is for them. They're stuck with whatever choice they got, and probably got to make another choice pretty soon. So. With that being said, let me jump right into the game for this weekend. So, Texans, they got to go on the road, face Chicago. Chicago, they're I think they're a game behind Minnesota in the wild card standings, if I'm not mistaken. So they're sitting, Chicago's sitting at 5-7 right now. I think Minnesota's sitting at like 6-6, and so. Really, they're trying to do all they can to, hold on and make the playoffs. Trubisky, he just came back in the last 2 games. He just got his starting position back after Nick Foles went down with an injury. And so, he's been in there for him, trying to hold things down. He started off the season with them, and they did, fairly all right. But eventually, they just got tired of him, and it was like, well, let's just see if we can roll with let's just see if we can roll with Foles on this one. So let me see if I have him. Oh, I don't have him up. So anyway, so now he's in the starting lineup. It is what it is. Let me just go ahead and pull this stuff up real quick. Okay, don't have it available ready. Don't have it readily available. Thought I did, but don't need it. So yeah, right now, he's back in the starting lineup. They haven't really done too much of any. They haven't really done too much of anything. I think they've lost like 2 straight. The Bears have, yes, two straight. In fact, not only have they lost two straight, but they have, yeah, they've lost six straight. After starting, after starting the season at 5-1. So they're reeling right now. They're looking to like just try to make a late push to get back into it. But right now it's not looking good for them. And so for the Texans might appear to, even though the Texans playoff hopes are kind of dwindling down the drain, barring any type of mathematical miracle or whatever. The Texans, they look like an easy. It looks from the Bears side, it looked like it could be an easy win for them, but that's not really guaranteed. And that's looking like an easy win for them record wise, but that just really might not be the case this weekend for them. So let's just go with the three things that Texans got to do to kind of pull this W off. So they really got in. First thing, they got to improve the protection for Deshaun Watson. So I mentioned last week he had 5 sacks. One of those going for a safety. The O-line, they just got to come back. They got to play better than that. They got to be hungrier than that. They have to be hungrier than that. Why? Because on the other side of that field is going to be Khalil Mack leading the team with 6.5 sacks this season. And he could be on pace to kind of surpass his total last year, 8.5 sacks. So they have to really be on their P's and Q's with him around. Also, Akeem Hicks, he can be disruptive along that defensive line, so he can really cause problems for that Texans O line. So they have to. They have to just really play stronger than what they did last week. Not give up so many sacks. Just really protect Watson in that pocket. Because believe you me, they are coming. The defense, the Bears don't have much going for them on offense. Their best thing really is their defense. So they're going to find ways to capitalize on that strength as much as they can. Whether it's, getting after Watson and disrupting all the passes and everything. So definitely be aware of Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks as they can be really disruptive. Second thing Texans got to do, wear the Bears defense down by beating the Bears offense on third down. So the Bears offense is dead last in third down conversion percentage, around 32%. What the Texans defense has to do is make sure that they are winning that third down matchup at all times. Likely they keep beating them, and that'll likely increase the chances of a 3 and out. That'll definitely get that Bears offense off the field quicker and keep that Bears defense on the field a lot more. Once they get on there enough times, they'll wear down, they'll tire out, and that'll allow the Texans offense to kind of unlock on some of their things. Maybe some quicker throws. Maybe this can actually unlock a little bit of our run game. David Johnson, he won't be there. Duke Johnson will be there as well. Although, and Duke Johnson, for what it's worth, I really don't consider him like a feature. Well, I don't really consider him like in between the tackles type of running back, but he can get some good runs if the defense is tired enough. I think he can get some good runs. Procise, I saw he was on the injury list earlier. With an illness, so he hasn't been ruled out or anything. He hasn't been placed on anybody's COVID list at the time I'm recording this right now. A lot of things can probably change between now and Sunday morning. So if he's available, I would suggest using him as well for like either some of the more longer distances, maybe like a 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, or 2nd and shorter than that, or 2nd and 5 or greater, something like that. But definitely the key to using him or Duke Johnson would be wearing that defense down, and that won't happen unless we can beat that Bears offense on the third downs. Third and last thing Texans got to do is be prepared to be physical. I looked up the weather earlier today. for Chicago. It's likely going to be cold, windy, pretty much conditions for a running game, similar to what we had, what the Texans had back against Cleveland. So, Texans, they did okay for holding off Nick Chubb in that game, but Kareem Hunt, he was getting most of the he was really doing a lot of damage when they put the ball in his hands. And when that fourth quarter came around, Texans is just fell apart they just fell apart against the run. So you don't want that to happen in this game. It's going to be important for the Texans O-line and D-line to win the battles in the trenches. So they have to be physical. They have to be prepared to be physical. They also have to be prepared for David Montgomery and Cordero Patterson. Montgomery, really tough running back. Definitely, they will be using him. As far as I'm concerned, if it gets to, if those conditions just tend to worsen, or they're just going to be using him regardless, just because that's probably one of their best offensive pieces that they have going. Him and Allen Robinson. But if the weather is going to be, cold and windy, you're probably not going to see much Robinson anyway. So definitely be prepared for David Montgomery. Cordero Patterson, they like to put him everywhere in that offense. Wide receiver, wildcat running back, just regular running back. So definitely, when Montgomery's tired, look for Patterson to probably come in there and just spell him for a little bit, and just be in all types of formations. So definitely watch out for those two guys, as they can propel that running game in this type of potential weather environment. So Texans do these three things: improve the protection for Watson. Just keep Khalil Mack off of him. Make sure Akeem Hicks doesn't do any damage on that defensive line. Wear the Bears defense down by beating the Bears offense on third down. Increasing the chances of the Bears offense getting a 3 and out, and just shoving the Bears defense back on the field. And just be prepared to be physical. It's likely going to be a cold, windy game. So if both Texans D-line and Texans O-line can win in the trenches, I think this team would be just fine getting a W out this weekend. So if you're watching this video on Facebook, like my page, facebook.com/BrandonBlog. YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube page, youtube.com/BS713. I'm Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz. Holla black.